Well, joining me on the hub from Oxford is Austen Ivereigh, Director of Catholic Voices, an organisation that puts promotion of the Church's case in interviews and debates as one of its main operational tasks. Thanks for joining us. How seismic, potentially, are the revelations and this case?
I don't think they're seismic at all. I think what's happened here is you have somebody who was very close to the Pope, who saw him every day, who dressed him, who decided to take it upon himself to leak these documents, stole papers from the Pope's private desk. Now, those letters and those documents weren't intended ever to be made public. They were private correspondence of the sort that would cross the desk of any head of state any day. And of course, when they are published, they appear to throw a particular damaging light on the institution. I've looked at some of those documents. I don't think that there is anything there that, frankly, has surprised me that much. We know there are tensions and rivalries within the Vatican. There's impatience at inaction, just as in any human institution. I think what's important here is that the Vatican is deciding to deal with this theft, this very, very serious crime, by having a trial, by investigating it properly under the gaze of the world's press. And I think what we're seeing is transparency, accountability, and justice being done.
What do you say to Paolo Gabrielli, who's made clear that he thought what he was doing was really to protect the Pope?
Well, Paolo Gabrielli, as far as we can tell, I mean, obviously I've never met him, but there are reports on him that the Vatican has done since these events back in May, and since he was arrested back in May. He appears to be what's known as a fragile personality, with who took it upon himself. He was obviously alarmed at some of the things that he was reading, and took it upon himself to save the Pope, you know, and that's the justification he gave in his statements. He says he regrets it now. He felt at the time he had to do something, and so he took it upon himself to do this. I mean, I think it's no more than that. He is a fragile personality with a certain kind of a complex, really.
But let me just pick you up on one of those phrases there. Save the Pope, but from what?
Well, you know, imagine somebody working very closely with President Obama who sees, you know, the stuff on his desk, which I'm sure would alarm somebody who is not equipped to deal with affairs of state, and suddenly thinks, gosh, President Obama's, you know, having a terrible time, I'm going to take it upon myself to save him, so leaks those documents, you know, to the White House press. I mean, that's the kind of analogy we're talking about. We're talking about a fairly kind of simple person who doesn't deal with affairs of state, but, you know, his job as a butler was to dress the Pope and, you know, attend to those kind of daily needs, who obviously just became alarmed at some of these things and decided to leak them to the press. And because the documents seem to paint a particular picture, it's been interpreted in a particular way. And one of the patterns that people have seen is that Cardinal Bertone, the number 2 in the Vatican, you know, the picture seems to be of inaction by him. So clearly, the butler believed that this number 2 in the Vatican was responsible for inaction and decided for that reason to leak it. So we cannot draw too many conclusions from the documents that have been leaked, as some have tried to do. I think we're going to get a one-sided picture, which I don't think is representative. What's important here is that a crime was committed and it's being dealt with and it's being looked at. Paolo Gabrielli has already confessed. He will probably be sentenced. No doubt he will be pardoned because the Pope is very fond of him, and I think everybody will move on.
Austen Ivereigh, Director of Catholic Voices, thanks for joining me from Oxford here on the Hub, and I should underline that the case continues.